Morning. My name is Jim Parati. I'm at the Veterans Memorial Center, Merritt Island. We're interviewing Robert Mooty this morning, Colonel in the United States Army. Colonel, thank you.
Good morning.
Go ahead. You may start
Okay.
with.
All right, well, I was going to talk about why I went into the military. I did a couple of years of college in Winter Haven, Florida, and then went to Italy to spend the time with my Italian family. And when I was over there, I heard in the news that the Viet Cong were taking some of our prisoners and putting bamboo baskets on their head with rats in them, and they were eating their way through the school. And I was so mad. I was going to go back and join the military, and I wanted to kill some Viet Cong. So I got back to Winter Haven, signed up for Army Special Forces, and I had a cousin of mine that was a Green Beret, so he was kind of like a big brother to me. They sent me off to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, went through basic there. I was awarded the Outstanding Trainee of the Training Cycle and the Physical Fitness Award. My best friend was a 42 professor from Texas who was in the Texas Airborne National Guard, Eugene Brown. And he joined the Air Force National Guard because he's always preaching about loyalty and supporting your country. And they said, what do you do? He says, well, I'm going to join the Texas National Guard. So he was my best friend through basic. He got the National Spirit Award at the end of basic. And at the very end, once we graduated, we let the cadre know that at the end of the FTX we had in basic, all the cadre was in a big GP medium tent, right? And somebody put a tear gas grenade in there right when they were getting ready for bed. It was us. But we waited till we graduated before we told them that. So I went from there to stay in Fort Jackson, went to 05 Bravo School, which is radio operator school. They made me an acting first sergeant. Left from there, and because I did so well on Morse code, they sent me to Fort Gordon, Georgia for radio teletype school. Did that, came out on the commandant's list, went to jump school, did the jumps at jump school, and after that, as I was leaving jump school, the company commander of the airborne company said, you signed up for the Green Berets? I go, yeah. He said, well, since you enlisted for the Green Berets, now that you're airborne, you can wear the Green Beret. So I went to the PX, bought a Green Beret. I get on the bus. We go from Fort Benning to Fort Bragg. All of us get off of the bus. This is probably about 10 o'clock at night. I'm the only one with a Green Beret on my head. This big sergeant goes, are you Green Beret qualified? I said, no. Get in the lean and rest. So I was in the lean and rest. Everybody's going to the mess hall. I think I did about 100 push-ups. After we got through eating, we went to the barracks to get ready. You usually have a 0 week, and the sergeant comes walking into the barracks. He goes, "Where's the Green Beret?" I'm like, right here. What's your name? Mooty. I'm going to remember you. So when we went in process, every time we went to some place like to get your TA-50 equipment, uniforms, whatever, they'd go whisper to the guy in charge, and he'd say, "Where's the Green Beret?" Give me 50 push-ups. I did 400 push-ups that day. Every time they sent me somewhere, I had to do push-ups. So then I started phase one, did phase one. We started out with 106, 66 made it through phase one. My best friend Mark Daggy and I set a new record for the SF obstacle course. We broke the old record by 2 minutes. He beat me by 1 second. He had long arms, and he was the Iowa State wrestling champion, so he was like a monkey. Did a couple of jumps while I was waiting for phase two and broke my leg. You see a picture of that. So I was recycled. And while I was being recycled, I kept working out with my cast on my leg, which was a good thing. Because the sergeant major, the main sergeant major David Clark, I guess saw me in the gym doing heavy bench presses. So did phase two, which was radio operator school, and then from there went to phase three, the classified phase of Special Forces. When I graduated, I got sent to 2nd Battalion, 7th Special Forces there at Fort Bragg. Unfortunately, on my resume, I played the trumpet. And I kept having these guys from the Green Beret Drum and Bugle Corps, "Hey, why don't you come join us? We go party." I don't want to do that. I want to be a soldier. So I get to 2nd to 7th, and all of a sudden, my company sergeant major says, "Mooty, we've got orders for you for the Green Beret Drum and Bugle Corps." I said, "I've never disobeyed an order. I'm not going to the Green Beret Drum and Bugle Corps. I'll terminate Special Forces and go to Vietnam before I do that." "Oh, is that right? So let's go see Command Sergeant Major Clark." So we walk into his office. He says, Sergeant Mooty here says, told him the thing. Sergeant Major Clark goes, "You're damn right, we both will." He picks up the phone, calls Sergeant Major Hodge. He says, "Look, I requested this man by name to be in my battalion. He's not going." He goes, "Okay." And that was that. Sergeant Major David Clark is a legend. He did 41 free falls on his 41st birthday. Okay, so it's pretty amazing. From there, all of a sudden I get orders going to Thailand, 46th Special Forces Company, Thailand. So we go to Special Forces Company, Thailand. I did 14 months there. It came time to re-enlist, so I re-enlisted for Spanish language school. That way I could get 2 for 1. I would get the language school, plus I knew the only place that Special Forces spoke Spanish was in Panama. And I wanted to be a nice, warm, tropical climate where I could go scuba diving. So graduated from language school, honors graduate, went down to Panama. Well, after I was there, we got a new commander, a very famous guy, Lieutenant Colonel James G. Greitz. They call him Bo Greitz. He made everybody, if you wore the Green Beret, you will take Taekwondo, period. He had a operations contingency plan to capture Noriega. He was told, hands off, you don't know how to touch him. So here you go, years later, what'd they do? They went for Noriega. But he was an incredible commander. Spent 3 years down there, and then I put in for OCS, and I was accepted to OCS. So they sent me from Panama back to Fort Benning, Georgia, for OCS. Went to OCS, came out on the commandant's list. The day that I graduated, went straight to infantry officer basic course at Fort Benning. So we did the infantry officer basic course. Back then, SF wasn't its own branch, so you had to use basically all infantry. Got through with the IOBC and graduated commandant's list on that. The same day I got through with that, they sent me to Ranger School. Back then, as an officer, it wasn't good to be at SF because the regular Army didn't trust us. Cowboy snake eaters, you can't trust them, So they want you to have that Ranger tab, even though the Special Forces tab goes above it. So I go to Ranger School. You have 0 week where they do chores and this and that, and you get your uniform squared away. You do the hand-to-hand pit. So I think there was 176 of us. We all get in the hand-to-hand pit, and you just find somebody, and you go with him, and then narrow it down to one person. I was next to the last guy there because I was Taekwondo, and Klubeck, one of my OBC classmates, he was a judo guy. So he kind of didn't really do one of the things you were supposed to do, which was the cross-hawk takedown. He actually did a sweep. So I had him, grabbed his shoulders, and he grabs mine, and I had this thing where you go over his arm and bend it down, and it has arm cranked. I thought, I'm not going to dislocate his shoulder. I let up on it, and he swept me and got me. That's okay. I got 15 points, he got 25 points. That's no big deal. Mm-hmm. So then we go to Ranger School. You do Fort Benning, and you do Dahlonega, then you do the Florida phase. I got through with the Florida phase, and as we came out of the field after that 13-day patrol out there, I had my left knee was swelling a little bit. Found out I had cellulitis on my kneecap. So I went to the doc there at Fort Benning, and they lanced it open and put a drain in it and gave me a little profile, so you can't be running. I said, well, tomorrow is graduation. I said, we're going to have to double time around the parade field back in front of the bleachers. Well, you can't do that. So I went to the Ranger course, and Ranger guys, and said, look, I'm a profile. I can't do that double around the thing. He said, you don't have to. You're one of the honor graduates. Now they tell me, okay. So out of all those guys, 5 of the honor graduates were Green Berets. Left there, went to Fort Bragg again. It put me in the 82nd Airborne Division, 1st of the 504. One of my fellow lieutenants, by the way, was Stan McChrystal. That ring a bell? He ended up being a 4-star. His dad was a 2-star. He ended up being a 4-star. So we were in the same company together. We took while we were there, I took the EIB test. Only 2 people in the whole brigade maxed the EIB test, myself and the Spec 4 Welch. So I got some kind of accommodation for maxing the trophy. But I also ran into a battalion commander who was not very well liked. And he was the kind of guy that if he doesn't like you, you can terminate your career. So in 1980, I decided to go back into the civilian world. So I got out, and I found out there was 11 Special Forces in Tampa, Florida. So I went over there to interview, and they said, well, we don't really have a team for you. We might be able to put you in an S2 or something like that. Well, they sent me down to Miami at the battalion headquarters, and one of the guys there had been a radio operator with me. He was a master sergeant. He goes, I know this guy. He goes, you need to give him a team. So he gave me a team. So I had an A team for a few years. We did a lot of really.
Were you as a civilian then?
How was that?
Was it a civilian or you?
No, he was a reservist, but he was a master sergeant. He and I had been in 05 Bravo.
The team, was it active or was it?
It was
a reserve team.
Reserve team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, reserve. So, so we did a lot of training. We ended up going to England. We went to England right after Chernobyl went off. In fact, we got to England the day that they hit Gaddafi, which also was the same time that Chernobyl went off.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that, and I think one of the funniest things, we were doing winter warfare. Our mission was, real world mission, was behind enemy lines. So we carried AK-47s because where we were going to be, that was ammunition that would be available, not our ammo. So we're doing winter warfare. So we go to Tampa. We're in Tampa. We get on the plane at early, I guess probably 5 or 6 o'clock. It's 80 degrees. We fly to Lake Placid, New York. We parachute into 3 feet of snow. It's 20 below. So we're going to spend a couple of days out there doing winter warfare. We have overwhites. We have white aluminum snowshoes. And usually we sleep in 2-man tents that we buy ourselves, purchase. So right here in the snow, in the middle of the woods out there, and sleeping in our little 2-man tents. And some of the guys are out there on patrolling around, walking around with overwhites and AK-47s. Well, we just happened to be near this forestry college. And I guess a couple of the students are walking down this trail, and here they see these guys, overwhites carrying AK-47. They're thinking, Red Dawn. Oh my God, the Russians are coming. These guys are freaking out. No, we're Americans, we're Americans. Well, what are you doing? Well, we're out here training. Well, why are y'all sleeping out here 20 below? We've got a $2 million log cabin over here that you can come and say, okay, we'll come and see you in a few minutes. Because you're supposed to get to know the locals, right? So all my guys go in there, and we show them how to take an AK apart. And all my weapons guys are doing that. And they bring us hamburgers and french fries from the cafeteria. And so we had a good time. We saw the Aurora Borealis. Well, I guess we should have told them this is classified. So our company commander and the XO were downtown at a bar, and these young ladies walk in there. Oh, no, you guys are with the Green Berets, aren't you? How do you know? Oh, they're in our log cabin. Okay, so we finally talked our way out. Just convinced them that was what we should have been doing, working with the locals. That was kind of funny. So I spent. I was in 11 Special Forces till 1990, and they tried to wanted to promote me to major. But if I gone to major, I didn't have. There was only one slot. That was the company commander. He wasn't going to give it up. So I declined it for 1 year, and after 1 year, you have to accept the promotion. So now what am I going to do? So they said, well, you need to look at Special Operations Command at MacDill Air Force Base. And so, okay. So I drove over, I interviewed, and they said, okay, yeah, we're going to get you a job in the J3, which is the operations department. So I started out in the operations department. We had a
is that part of Central Command?
Yeah. Well, it's a subunit of Central Command. We belong to SOCOM during non-war, and when we go to war, we go OPCON to Central Command. So SOCOM provides us our training and our money and our equipment, and then they give us to CENTCOM to go to war, and then we come back and go back to SOCOM. We had our J3 was of course he was the colonel. There were only 306 slots. There's the J3 and the deputy commander. And Colonel Pullen decided he was his previous job. He was only a ranger. He wasn't SF. He was in charge of the honor guard in Washington D.C. So he was just desk right, all this kind of stuff. Well, Soxton did not have a SOP because Mooty, I want you to do the SOP. We need an SOP, battle SOP. So I wrote the battle SOP. I wrote the L&O book, liaison officer book for Soxton too. So when it came to setting up a joint operations center or anything like that, go ask Mooty. He knows because I'd written the book on it. We went a lot of different countries. Our operation was a Horn of Africa in the Middle East. So got to go to Kenya, the Seychelles Islands, Oman, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, all these different places, and sitting up doing exercises. I think my favorite country was Jordan. I became friends with the commander of the Jordanian Army Special Forces. His name is Jamal Shawebka. Today, he's the head of their FBI, well, equivalent of the FBI. He's the number one lawman in the country. He was sitting there one day, I was at lunch with him, and he was telling me about when King Hussein was king, there was a terrorist somewhere in Amman, Jordan, and they were going to go get this guy. And they knew this guy always carried a bomb and his AK all the time. He had a bomb and he had an AK-47, and he was living in the basement of this apartment building. So they snuck in about 2 o'clock in the morning, and as they were opening the door to his room, the door creaked. He reached over for his weapon, and Jamal hit him with his MP5 full auto, got him right across here. His arm was barely just hanging on by a thread. So they severed it. They stuck his arm in his shirt, so his hand was sticking out like this. Then they took him and interrogated him. Well, after this was over, Jamal was going to meet King Hussein, and he's in his procession line to meet King Hussein. As he gets ready to walk up to King Hussein's aide whispers in King Hussein's ear. So Jamal went like this to shake hands with King Hussein. King Hussein goes, "I'm going to need this arm back." And Jamal would always tell me, Mooty, he was a very bad man. Great guy. This went on. We went to Qatar several times for the war. I was stationed in Bahrain for about 4 months as the deputy commander of Stock Sent Forward, and then the war got with Afghanistan. So our headquarters, our forward headquarters after that was Astalia, Qatar. All right, so we spent time there. We had these big tents, giant tents. Inside you have a cot. They were air conditioned. Outside they had scud bunkers in case we got hit with scuds. Right about that time, at the end of that, I got promoted to bird colonel. Well, the problem was there were only 2 06 slots, the J3 and the deputy commander. So they said, well, the Army's got to find you a new job. So they said, first they were going to send me to Fort Hood, Texas. What's the Green Beret going to do at Fort Hood, Texas? I don't know. So they said, okay, we're sending you to this place called CMOC. It was where all the casualties come in. I was the deputy commander of CMOC. The commander was Mary Torgerson. And CMOC is in charge also of Dover, Delaware, where everybody comes in. So I get there. I'm the only Green Beret in the whole place. They said, we're going to take you to Dover, Delaware, so you see what the facility is like there, since you're the deputy commander. So I go there, and they start showing me around. We walk into this one area, and there's a something that looks like about this big, and it's wrapped in a blanket, army green blanket, with safety pins all the way down the side. I go, what is this? That's the remains of a Spec 4 that got hit by an IED, and that's all that's left of his body. And then that's how you do it with a green blanket. Yeah, that's the standard. And then on the table over there, on a stainless steel table, was a Green Beret Master Sergeant who caught a bullet right in the middle of the head. So as I'm walking around, I walk in one of the halls, and there's a flat screen TV on the wall, about this large. I go, what is this? I had all this information on it. He goes, well, that's how we track where the person is in the process, so we know exactly where they are, what's going on. I said, well, that's pretty nice. So I go back to Alexandria, Virginia, where our headquarters was, and it's a 6-story building. I'm on the 4th floor. Our worker bees are on the 6th floor, and they've got this giant whiteboard with little lines on it, and here's the soldier's name, here's his date he was injured, when he was brought to the States, where he is in there. They have all his uniforms and medals and awards, so all the way down till the date for the funeral. And we always have, every soldier that died in Afghanistan and Iraq had a general officer at their funeral, every one of them. So one of the things we do, we call the Pentagon, and we had a contact there, and the person would assign a general to be at every single funeral.
Mm.
And also, we also make sure that if there's any problem, family-wise, any conflict, that he didn't get blindsided, let him know what's going on. So I asked Colonel Torgerson, I said, why don't we do what they've got over there? Instead of having this whiteboard up there, why don't we get a giant flat screen up there? And I already talked to the IT guys. They said they can hook up that up there with their computers to your computer on the 4th floor, so you don't have to go up 4 flights of stairs, because she wasn't that physically able. And you can just sit at your computer. You and I can look at our computer and see what's going on. She goes, and she, at the meeting, she said, was Colonel Mooty going to pay for that? And it's only $10,000, which is nothing. 6 months later, that's what we had. She could sit at her desk and could see everything that was on the screen upstairs. And so,
What was it think it was? She was just hesitant because she'd already done it this way, and
she have to walk up
Yeah.
the stairs,
Yeah.
two flights of stairs, and
Yeah.
back down
Yeah.
every time she wants to see what's going on. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So, so then it came time for my retirement. Somebody was looking out for me. I thought my retirement was going to be end of October, and if I wouldn't have retired as a colonel. I would have had 2 years, 11 months, and 3 weeks. You got to have 3 years. And so somebody said, I'm not going to let that happen. They said, no, you're not retiring until December the 1st. Okay. So they asked, what do you want for a retirement present? I said, nothing fancy. Look, I just bought a motorcycle. I said, how about a motorcycle jacket? Now, this is a sport bike, not a Harley. It's a sport bike. But they gave me this big black leather jacket on the back. It says, with the green beret emblem on there. It said, mess with the best, die like the rest. And so that was that. So I retired December the 1st, 2005. Came back to my house in Cocoa, Florida, which I had built with my retirement home. Shortly after that, I met my beautiful wife and married. Now we've got an 18-year-old son who just graduated high school.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And this is, you want to explain this?
Sure, absolutely.
So when I retired, my wife, I retired December the 1st, 2005. I met my wife in January 2006. We went to Italy and I proposed to her in front of the castle I used to play in when I was a little child in January 2006. We came back. We had a engagement party at my house. The next morning, she was throwing up. I go, what's the matter? I don't know. I went and got the test. Guess what? We're gonna have a baby. Okay, we're gonna have a baby then. So here I am. I'm 60-something years old. And I said, if my son gets older, he's not going to know what I did when I was in the military. So I got on the laptop. My wife didn't know I was doing this. I got on the laptop. I included pictures, a whole litany of all the dialogue and what happened from beginning to end. And she found out I was doing that, and so she went to Shutterfly and had to make this. And then on my birthday, Christmas, she gave me this for Christmas. And in here has got a lot of the things I was just talking about.
Sure. Love to see him.
Okay. By the way, my family in Italy, my grandfather was a Marquis, so our family is Italian nobility, and this is my Italian family. My grandfather, like I said, was a Marquis who was friends with the king of Naples. That's my father. He was in the Air Force. When I was a first lieutenant, he used to fly bombers to Naples, to Italy, and that's how I met my mother over there. All the dialogue here. All right. Well, that's the last time I had hair, but right before I went in the Army, my hair started falling out. Okay, here we go. All right. That's the day I got back from Ranger School. And then this is some of the Special Forces training, rappelling, small boat training. Remember I said I broke my leg on my 7th jump. I never made that mistake again. Had over 200 jumps, never broke my leg again. This was a run we had when I was in the 82nd from St. Mary Glees back to the cantonment area. It was a 15-mile run. And then when I was in Thailand, we had an organization day, and there were 2 events with a personal. They weren't team events: arm wrestling and the pentathlon. So this was General Radke, the commander. giving me my 2 trophies, one for arm wrestling, the other one for the pentathlon. And so while I was in Panama, I lived right by Coco Solo Bay, and I put a line out there. I was trying to catch a shark. And so I kept throwing that line out there. My team sergeant lived right across the hall from me. He goes, Mooty, come here. You got an alligator on your line. Oh, no way. I go out there, it's a saltwater crocodile. I managed to get a rope around his nose, bring him up to the house, and he was still alive right there. 7'3" saltwater crocodile. I laid him on the ground, and I had a Clorox bottle as a buoy, okay? And then my Doberman came up and started barking at him. He started sweeping his head back and forth and smacked her with the Clorox bottle. So, okay, go get my pistol. I shot him in the head, and I mounted him. This is in Panama, doing practice with the Starlight scope. As you can see, that's like the first generation Starlight scope. It's almost as big as an M16. Times have changed. All right, here we go. This man right here is Jamal Shawebka. Like I said, he was a commander of the Jordanian Special Forces. He's now the #1 guy in the FBI. This is Mohammed Majid Aitain. He was in intelligence, but he's passed away, which is strange because he used to eat very healthy. When he came here, he'd go to Sweet Tomatoes and pile a plate full of vegetables with no dressing on them and just eat them raw like that. Here I'm also a jump master, so I give him jump master commands, put people out of the airplane. Right here, Jamal asked me, Mooty, he says, we want to give some clothes to the poor gentlemen, children out there in the desert. Can you get some money for that? I said, how much do you need? He said, about $250 to take care of 10 of them. So I went to an ATM, drew out $250, and gave it to him. I got reimbursed by Civil Affairs. This is in Qatar. I'm eating a shawarma, and I know now Qatar is not really our friend. They're not being nice. And this guy right here is looking at me like, I hope you choke on that, you infidel. Thailand, that's my gecko lizard on my shoulder. This is the scud bunkers we had in Qatar in case the scuds hit us. That's Jamal and I having lunch at his office. This is firing 81mm mortars at Fort Bragg. And that is what we slept in, the little cot inside of a giant tent, inside of an air-conditioned building. And while I was there, I got to go down to Aqaba, which is in Jordan. The commander of the Royal Jordanian Navy had let me go scuba diving for free, and they also got a tour of the USS Kamehameha, which is a nuclear submarine, which on the back of it has a sealed dry dock shelter that seals go in and out of. And this was in the torpedo room.
That's Jordanian, correct?
Well, this is American. Yeah, but it's in Jordan, in Aqaba, Jordan.
Okay.
And then of course that's my shadow box right here. These are all the different wings that I've earned. They got the American wing, my favorite with the Thai wings are pretty. And some of these wings, I don't even remember jumping with those people. We have a program that if we jump with someone from another country, they get our wings and we get their wings. So, I mean, I got Polish wings. I don't remember jumping with the Polish guys, but I've got the orders. And then some of the different units, like 82nd Airborne, Special Operations Command, Special Forces. And then the SF groups, that's 7th Group, that's Special Forces Thailand. That's the 11th Group, and that's Special Operations Command Central. And then my going up from a private up to a colonel, the EIB badge, and then all my awards right here. And then getting engaged to my wife. This is in Capri, Italy. We were at a place called Anima Corde, which means heart and soul. And we're dancing on the tables. You're supposed to dance on the tables. And that's my lovely wife.
Very, very nice.
And then years later, let's see. That's now my 18-year-old. That's my son.
Nice.
So things worked out pretty good.
Very interesting, Colonel. We'd like to thank you for your interview. Is there more you would like to add at this point?
I'll probably think of it on the way home.
Okay.
Colonel,
I can give you one more funny one here.
Sure.
Okay, when you're going through Ranger School and you're in the Florida phase, you have a 13-day patrol. Okay, you get 1 C ration a day. They give you, actually, in the beginning, they give you 13 C rations for 13 days. So all you got is one a day to eat. If you eat 2 a day, then you're going to go hungry one day. So you're starving. All you think about is food, food, food. And you're on your feet 21 hours a day. You might get 3 hours sleep, maybe, okay? So we're at the end of this 13-day patrol, and we're starving. For example, the day before the end of the 13 days, they have a survival day. And they give you a chicken, an apple, and a potato. And back then, you had a helmet. You could cook it in your steel helmet. You can't do it in Kevlar. And so we're eating that. But you're so hungry that every once in a while the chopper comes in, the medic chopper, to see if you're okay. So you go like, my throat's been bothering me. Can you give me something for this? So they give me a handful of Sepacol. You eat it like candy. Next thing your tongue is numb, your throat's numb, you know. But you're eating something. You get something to eat. So you're starving. So we're all sitting here. We're through with all the patrols. We got one more mission. That night we have to do an attack on Santa Rosa Island. Okay, and to rescue some scientists that the bad guys have captured. So whenever you're out there, every night you have different instructors, different cadre. There's always an officer and an enlisted man. Okay. That day we had Captain Neely and Sergeant First Class Hernandez. So I'm sitting by this tree, and Captain Neely's sitting right next to me. He takes his back rucksack and he just dumps out all his food he's got. He's got bean and weenies. He's got fruit cocktail. And I saw that fruit cocktail. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll buy you, when we get back to the camp, I'll buy you any bottle of whiskey you want for that can of fruit cocktail. He goes, really? He goes, no, you know I can't do that. Oh, man. So he goes, I'm the Ranger arm wrestling champion. Really? I says, well, I'm the Panama and the SF arm wrestling champion. He thought I was kidding. So he was saying it. So about 20, 30 minutes later, we're all sitting down on the ground here, and he walks up and he goes, Ranger Mooty's left alligator mouth overloaded his hummingbird ass. He goes, we're going to arm wrestle for this can of fruit cocktail. Okay. So we lay on the ground, and he puts his arm up here. I said, when Ranger Mooty's arm hits this root over here, he will have lost. Okay. Ready? I said, I'm ready. He goes, do it again. So, he's pissed. He gets up, and Sergeant Hernandez, don't you own Ranger Mooty something? He goes there and gets the can of fruit cocktail of this thing and hands it to me. And I just sit there. I said, okay. So Sergeant Hernandez said, well, go ahead and open it. So I take my P-38 out, and I open it up like that. He's flip it over. And you always carry a plastic spoon with you. So he goes, well, aren't you going to share it with your guys? All my guys say, you guys want? No, it's all yours. And they're so happy they could just. I go, okay, go ahead and have some. He goes, no, I want you to dribble it down your chin. This is Sergeant Hernandez. Oh, Captain Neely's face turns the color of your shirt. He's pissed. He goes walking off into the woods. So I had to take a few bites. So then we did the raid on Santa Rosa Island. We get back, and all you want to do is get something to eat and go get some sleep, because you're so tired that when you're walking at night with these things, if you stop walking, you fall asleep standing up. You're really tired. So I take a shower. I go to lay down. Mooty, they want you at the Gator Lounge. I'm like, God, what do they want? So I get up. I go to the Gator Lounge. There's one guy they call Billy Jack. He wants to arm wrestle. So here we go again. Anyway, so that was a legend right there. What happened there? I should have got some extra points for that, but. I wonder how Captain Neely's doing now.
I don't know. It's interesting. I was in 69 and 70, and I had cans of peaches, and they were like gold. Any kind of fruit. A P-38 is a can opener.
Yep.
Okay. Called John Wayne sometimes. It's the little one that folds out.
Well,
I'm not sure if you know what that is.
We had John Wayne crackers. The chocolate bars are called John Wayne bars. And I cracked a tooth on one.
Oh.
Because it had nuts in it, but evidently there was a shell in this one. And I bit down on that shell.
Yeah.
And we call them the John Wayne bars. Yeah.
Okay. Again, great job. You have some story to tell. Is there anything we need to add here, or?
Robert, just a few things. Basically, the Army was your life.
Yes.
And
35 years, I'm only 76, so that's about half my life.
Is there any regrets that you had in what you did, or?
Oh, absolutely not. I think sometimes you fall into, which wasn't my plan. My plan was to be a mathematician. When I was in high school and college, I was like the best math person of anybody. Like even in calculus, when I was in college, I was working full time, so I didn't get much sleep, and I would fall asleep in calculus class. But I would always do my calculus homework, including especially the hard problems with the star at the end, it's the hard ones. And I'd be sitting in class like this with a pencil in my hand, and I was sound asleep. And they get number 12. Did anybody do number 12? Maybe Mr. Mooty would be like, try. They go, Robert, number 12. I wake up, and I go up there. I used to upset Dr. Buckley. And in hindsight, I should have told him, look, I don't mean disrespect. I'm sorry. I said, I'm working full time. I live alone. My stepmother kicked me out of my house. So I said, I'm on my own. And I said, I'm working till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I said, but I always do my zoology. I always do my calculus homework. And I said, so it doesn't reflect on you. I'm very tired. But I should have done that, and I didn't do that. But he always wondered why I'm asleep in his class. You can still answer the hard ones, you know. So I was going to be a mathematician. But it worked out better this way because, I mean, calculators came out, computers came out. I don't know what mathematicians do now, but I'm better off being a colonel in the Army.
What was the high point, Robert? What was the high point of? I mean, what? Not singular, plural. Did you have several high points in the Army?
I'd have to say some of them would be some of the things I got to do and the people I met going to the Middle East, like especially like Jamal Shawebka and some of the people like that. I kind of miss the camaraderie with guys like that were special people. And one of my favorite commanders also was when I was a Special Operations Commander was General Frank Toney. He's the one that promoted me Lieutenant Colonel. He was the only one. We had a 2-story building at Soxat. They call it the mole hole because all the way in the back of MacDill, right next to the runway, near 2 warehouses where we keep our stuff. And it used to be a strategic air command shelter. No windows on it. The bottom floor is actually underground, and you have to go down to get into it. And the
yeah, we're having an interview.
And he's the only one of all our commanders that would come down, and there was a two desk office. I'd be sitting there, he'd come in and put his feet on the desk. Mooty, what do you think about this? And I mean, just a great guy. I think one of the things I remember when we were in Kenya and we had the Joint Operations Center going in Mombasa, Kenya, he flew in on a C-12 airplane, and as he gets off, we're there to greet him. And he goes, how you doing, sir? He goes, how you doing, Mooty? He goes, have you killed anybody yet? I go, no, sir, I wouldn't do that without checking with you. No, you have Derloff, go ahead. I was joking, of course. But he was a great guy. And I saw on one of my Special Forces news feeds on Facebook, he passed away about 2 years ago, unfortunately. But he was a great commander.
Robert, do you stay in touch with any of your comrades?
Some of them I see on Facebook. You have to be vetted, but I'm on the Special Forces Safe House, 11 Special Forces, things like that. One of the guys I knew in Panama who went from there to Delta, Phil Hansen, he and I converse back and forth on Facebook.
Is there anything you would change or do over if you had the opportunity?
Not really. I guess in hindsight, of course, one of the things would be out of my control. When I made colonel, within 30 days, I got a letter saying that's the end of the road for you. There are 3 requirements to go to brigadier. Number 1, you got to make general. You got to make general by the age of 54. I was already 54. You know. Number 2, you didn't have a battalion command, and you didn't go to the war college. I could have done the war college, even if I did it, by remote. But there's no way I can make myself have a battalion command. So I'm happy to retire as a colonel.
Excellent.
Robert, the people that we've interviewed in the past, that's one thing that they regretted, that they didn't make some criteria to where they can get the next rank or whatever. But it's not, you'd like to have, but you don't feel any kind of resentment or
no, because the 6.5 years I did as enlisted, put me 6.5 years behind. So
yeah.
you can't do anything about that.
if you were promoted to general, was there anything that you would have done or changed, or is there any particular thing you would like to have implemented if you had the ability?
Yes. You know, back in the day, first the only people that wore berets were the Green Berets, and then the Rangers came along and they got the black beret, and then some general decides that he's going to create esprit de corps just by giving everybody a beret. That's not how you make esprit de corps. To get esprit de corps, you put people through something that's hell, and you got this camaraderie now. I know you've been through this hell. We've all been through this hell, and that's why we earn this thing on our head. Not just give it to them as soon as because you got a pulse, because you join your army, you stick this thing on your head. That doesn't create esprit de corps. So I thought about that. If they're going to go ahead and, of course, the Rangers changed theirs to tan. Okay, so if you're going to earn a black one for the regular army, you'd have to do the 20K rucksack march in a certain amount of time. You had to get a certain score in the PT test and so on. So I'd have some rigid requirements. That way, when you got it, you know, look, hey, you did it too. You earned it too. So just giving it to them.
The very similar to the giving all the children now participation awards.
Yeah.
You don't really win or lose
Waters
or
it
earn
down.
something.
We're not keeping score. Yeah.
Right. That's
Becomes
a lot of
meaningless,
Yeah. Exactly.
nonsense. Okay.
The as far as like veterans organizations, does any of them appeal to you?
I keep getting these things from the VFW, but I looked at something what their criteria was, and it says you have to have been in combat, fired on in combat. And fortunately or unfortunately, somehow my career just put me in a place that I never got shot at, except in civilian life.
Okay.
I've only been wounded in civilian life, so that doesn't count. So I don't think I even qualify.
On that note, Robert, did your life, as you went through your career, did you, like as far as your feelings about war, did any of them change?
No,
No.
not really. You know, we don't go to work because we want to. A lot of times they think we go to work because we have to. You know, just like what's going on right now.
Yeah.
You either do something about it, or you'll be very sorry you didn't do it later on.
Any, like as far as veterans, since you've, are a veteran of, most veterans don't have the time and et cetera that you have. Do you have any, did your feelings change as far as veterans?
No, but I tell you, since I'm retired, what I've been doing since I'm retired, I started doing carving marble for people, marble family crest, and then my wife opened up a salon up in Vieira, and she wanted me to do some paintings because I'd done paintings before, and so I did paintings for her, and then I started painting again, and I have a lot of paintings in my, like 16 Frazetta paintings in my gym that I did. People, oh my God, now I've had people commission me to do paintings, from small paintings to really large paintings. But that doesn't really keep me that busy, especially right now. I got to get this eye taken care of next month. I had cataract surgery, and they put a lens in this eye for distance. I do monovision, distance to this eye, and reading for this eye. Well, the one they put in this eye was too strong. So when I read, I have to be 8 inches away. So next month they're going to correct that because they got too strong of a lens inside my eye. But so in fact I get ready to start another painting right now for my wife. But I would like somehow to be able to help veterans and give back, do something. My wife for a while was working for Bridges. Are you familiar with Bridges? They've got a place for veterans. They got homes for veterans. It's a nonprofit, and she was working for them for a long time. And somehow to mentor or help out veterans that need some help. If there's some way I could help them out,
We have, I don't know, have you affiliated with Military Officers Association at all?
No, I'm not a member of any club.
It's the largest. At times it's the largest one in the United States, but where I'm going with this is that they have a foundation within called Good Deeds,
Mm-hmm.
and as far as this location, Robert, in Brevard County and Central Brevard, they give away a lot of money for good causes and also for people that are destitute and having problems, so they're very philanthropic, and they do. They say they do a pretty good job. Both the president and the vice president, Dean Schaff and Don Weaver, they're both involved in that. Don Weaver's president of the Good Deeds is what they call it. So, you might look into that as far as, if not to join, but as far as to being, see what they're doing.
Okay.
But just to end it, sir, as far as like, you're going to leave a legacy. What would you say, like when you have young people, around, junior, senior in high school, that are looking to do what their next, do they want to go to college? Do they want to get a job, stay at home, trade school? What would you say, as far as like the service, and in particular the Army? What would you say to them? I mean, as far as opportunity and,
You have advice to give to the next generation?
Well, like my own son, my son was thinking about going in, and it depends a lot on the person. The kind of person I always was. Special Forces was kind of tailor suited for me. I ran track. I was the strongest person in my high school. All this kind of stuff. A lot of guys like that end up being Rangers. Remember the I'm trying to think of the Ranger that had he was a football player in California, had a $4 million contract.
Guy out of Arizona.
He wanted to join the Rangers with his brother instead and serve his country.
Yeah.
Here, you have him. He was the square jawed. I mean, he looked like the perfect guy that should be on a poster.
Yeah. Pat Tillman.
Yeah, because
Arizona
when I was in Alexandria, we had to deal with the feedback for what happened there. That's what I remember. Pat Tillman, getting shot by his own people and covering it up. But anyway, so I think you got to kind of look at the person to see what the person is to see where they ought to go. Somebody said, "You gonna be Green Beret like your dad?" I said, "No, my son wouldn't be. He doesn't have the hard drive that I had." And I told him, if you're going to go in, I said, go in either the Air Force or the Navy, get a skill that if you don't want to stay in, you can use that skill on the outside. As a Green Beret, if you're going to go on the side, am I going to work for the CIA or whatever?
Yeah.
So, and so he was thinking about going to the Air Force and to be a air traffic controller, which he could on the outside.
It's
he
high
decides
pressure.
to get
It's high pressure. But
high pressure, but a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he really wanted to be a pilot, but he's not qualified to be a pilot. He hasn't had college. I don't know if he passed the officer's intelligence test, they call it. Something like that.
Yeah.
Officer test.
Yeah.
So.
I think pretty much wrapping it up, we've done a great job. We appreciate your service, and we do appreciate you coming in and partaking in our Veterans History Project. I guess on behalf of the center, we'd like to thank you.
No, thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.